Hey everyone, welcome to live with OKclarity.com, the live experience that'll bring you clarity on forgiveness, 5 secrets to truly letting go. Tonight's live stream will be 30 minutes. At around the 25-minute point, we are going to take some questions and answers. You could post them into the chat at any point. Welcome everyone. If you have questions, you can drop them into the chat at any time, but I won't address them until the end. If you're joining us tonight from other social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, welcome. I won't be taking the question and answer from those platforms, only from the live stream on OKclarity directly. So feel free to head over to OKclarity.com and click to join us live on OKclarity.com if you want to get a chance to get your questions answered. But for tonight, we'll do it on Instagram as well. And a quick and important disclaimer: everything discussed tonight is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and none of it is a substitute for professional mental health, wellness, medical, or financial advice. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benson Fox. I'm a PsyD candidate and certified life coach. I help people build joy, balance, and growth. And as a part of that, I try to find ways to help them integrate their negative emotions, their shadow self, if you will, and learn when to let go is critical to that. And that's how I help my clients achieve true healing, deep healing, and breakthroughs in their life. For more information or to set up a free consultation, go to OKclarity.com. You'll find my name is Benson Fox or Coach Benson Fox. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's start with the problem tonight that we're looking to solve. Many people, we struggle with when to let go, right? We don't know when is it the right time to let go from our resentments to our anger towards all our negativity that we have in our lives. When are we supposed to just, kind of release it? And there's a balance to be struck here, because on the one hand, I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want anyone just stepping all over me and telling me telling me what to do. And I think on the other hand, we don't want to be people who just accumulate negativity and allow it to fester, and it builds up, and then eventually we just either, explode. We hurt the people that we love, or we hurt ourselves and we get depressive. And we need to find a way to navigate this balance between this enforcing boundaries and making people respect me, etc., and not allowing things to accumulate. So that's the problem that we're going to attempt to resolve tonight. And it's something that we all struggle with it, and we're going to discuss this a little later, but in terms of Erev Yom Kippur, when we ask each other for mechila, or for forgiveness, and how that fits into everything. Because on the one hand, on Erev Yom Kippur, we're asking for, it could be a little awkward, we're either asking for something that deserves a much greater thing than just the last second asking for forgiveness. Oh, please forgive me. God forbid I killed someone that oh, please forgive me. It's that's a bit extreme. But the point is that we're asking for something that's many times that requires a much longer process than just you forgive me. And then on the other hand, though, it can be silly that you could be asking forgiveness if I may have done anything. We ask it vaguely, or if we ask for something specific, that one time where I could have said this a little more sensitively. The point is, it could be something that's so small that to the point where it doesn't even need to be asked. So we're going to find what is the correct balance for that, and how do we integrate that perspective within what we're looking to build here tonight. So we need to find a way to be healthy, enforce boundaries, stand up for yourself, be assertive, have standards and expectations, request or demand change in others when we are hurt by them. At the same time, we try to not accumulate our suffering, anger, shame, resentment, and have all of them fester and destroy our relationships with ourselves, others, and most importantly, with Hashem. So let's discuss here tonight a few short tips about 5 secrets, if you will, to decode forgiveness. So the first thing to understand about forgiveness is that forgiveness is the end of the journey. Forgiveness is not the beginning of it. So when we approach on Erev Yom Kippur, and it's the first time that we're actually engaging with that tension, that awkward tension that we have with them, this is the first time that we're dealing with it. That is the wrong time. That means that is not a good application of trying to Forgiveness represents the end of a process. I've built up healing. I've processed all of my emotions. I am now protected. Now, after this whole long process of reconciliation, of working through the relationship, of humility and appeasement, do we then arrive at forgiveness? So let's discuss this process. We kind of just said it quickly, so let's kind of break it down a little slower. When you have wronged someone, let's talk about it from a place of responsibility. So let's say you are the aggressor, and we all are. Every person sins towards themselves, God, and others. So let's talk about when you sin. When you sin towards others, you do interpersonal sin, if you will. What happens is that you need to engage in a process of appeasement. Now that process of appeasement first needs to start with is an acknowledgement of wrong, right? The process, we mentioned this in the previous slide, but any rules for relationships can be applied equally to bin adam lachavero, bin adam la'atzmo, and bin adam la'malkom, between you, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and between you and the divine. So we find in Hilchos Tshuva, we find this idea that how a person is meant to engage in charata, vidoy, kabbalah asid. That when you're before, and this is not in the actual formal request for forgiveness, this is even before that. You first need to go over to the person and say, this is what I was doing wrong. So that is the admitting what was done. And then you need to feel regret and show that remorse, not just say the words, I feel so sorry. Show them that you understand. Let's say you bullied someone, right? Show them that you're like, that the humiliation. Don't say the words like, I'm so sorry, that must have been so hard. Generic, safe words. Use words that show rawness, that show honesty, show a real reckoning with what you have done internally. Your face should be flush. It should be tearful. Again, this is for a serious wrong, right? Such as bullying. Your emotions and how you express this admission should be, again, this is the beginning of the process that culminates, hopefully eventually, into forgiveness. So when you're doing this, you first need to acknowledge the wrong and the severity of it, and have your emotively and your your emotions should match the words and the rawness and the honesty and the reckoning that you have already faced prior to this conversation, and how now you're engaging with the hurt party, with the victim, so to speak. And then lastly, you need to let them know that this is never going to happen again. You need to know that, at least of this severity, and you're going to be working on it, and you're going to say how you're going to work on it. I'm going to work on it, not, I'm going to get better. I'm going to eventually work on it. I hope to improve. No, none of these words. This is what I'm going to do to make sure this never happens again. And when you have a reckoning for this in that type of way, what ends up happening is that now you've created a point. Now this is not the point where you ask for forgiveness. So acknowledgement, you express the remorse in a real way, rawness. And then the last step is to say what's going to happen in the future, that you're never going to do this again, and your plan for that. And then you're going to say, I am not asking for forgiveness for today. I understand that I need to build back your trust. I know I have betrayed that, and I know that I've done something wrong, and I'm going to earn it back through my decisions. Don't trust my words, trust my actions towards you. And then not only do you obviously follow through and make sure that never happens again, and show the person that you're reliable and dependable, and that you mean what you say and you say what you mean, by actually following through on your plan. But in addition to that, you're going to engage in a process again. So that's step one, is this 3-step phase. And then stage 2, so to speak, is something else, where you're going to be engaging in appeasement. And it's actually interesting that it's brought down in the Gemara, the Rambam, and the Shulchan Aruch as well. And regarding Hilchos Tshuva, many times this is glossed over. But actually, even when it says on Erev Yom Kippur that we are supposed to request forgiveness, it actually says that you're first supposed to appease, to be yifta, to be mefata, to appease the person before you actually make that request. So it's actually really interesting that there's this appeasement that's supposed to come first. What is the appeasement supposed to do? So we have this principle from Stephen Covey called relationship bank accounts. Basically, a relationship is like a bank account, that if you do nice things and loving things and fulfill commitments, fulfill responsibilities, and demonstrate love to the other person, that are deposits. Now you have a nice, healthy relationship bank account. And then when you betray, when you're insensitive, when you're dismissive, etc., when you lash out, those are all withdrawals. Those are all things that take you out of this mode of they take out some money from the account. So when we always want to make sure that we're leaving a nice, healthy balance in there. So when we betray, etc., all these flaws and faults that we engage in our interpersonal relationships, the thing that we need to do is this is the process that we need to first do the first three things, vidoy, charata, kabbalah, asid, but then transition to appeasement. And this appeasement is where you're rebuilding, you're putting in, you're going out of your way to show this person humility. You're trying to show them that, I messed up, not through just your words, you're doing it through your actions. So what can this look like? It could look like, if it's a spousal relationship, to writing or love letters, to write a note. It can look like someone to be showing more physical affection. It can look like showing more interest, investing more time. It's doing more in the relationship. It's kind of creating an unequal relationship where you're investing more than they are. And the idea is so that you're trying to recorrect the wrong that you did by rebalancing the relationship bank account. You're bringing it up and bringing it back into a healthy balance. And then after you acknowledge it, and after you showed regret, and after you said what you're going to do differently, and you committed the plan, and then you, for a few weeks or a few months, it could be a few years even, depending on the severity of the hurt, etc., the severity of the wrong, and then over these many weeks, months, or years, you engage in this process of appeasement. Then with a humble heart, looking down at the floor, you turn to the person, you say to them, I know the hurt I caused you, I know the embarrassment, the humiliation, the terrible feelings of shame, and I made you feel like that you were the problem and I gaslit you, etc., etc., etc. You should know it was all because of my own wounds and my own problems, and it's not an excuse, but I want you to understand that I've gone through my own process of trying to understand really what I did wrong, because it was so excruciating how I felt like I needed to become a new person. You made me into a better person through this, and I really hope that, because I value our relationship so much and I love you so much, I really wish that we could find a way that if you could forgive me for this time. I don't expect it, but it would really be a big blessing to me and a big gift, and I would really, really appreciate if you could do that. And then again, so you're showing the humility, you're finishing the appeasement, and in these words, you're showing appeasement, you're showing contrition, you're showing a true acknowledgement, a true reckoning, and true also what you're doing differently, because they're not just words. Don't just say fancy, nice words and speeches. Also show them through your actions, through actions of appeasement and actions of what you would be doing differently. So, all right. So that was the long part for part one, which is forgiveness is the end of the process, not the start. Number two, forgiveness should be earned, just as we just said, right? It's earned through appeasement, through going through this process, and then also giving them the time and space. So that is what we're saying. Secret number two is that it should be earned. It's never deserved. Just because when you're saying earned, it doesn't mean that, if you earn your paycheck, you actually deserve to get paid. But for this circumstance, it's not about, we're not discussing that eventually you deserve forgiveness. There's no deserving ever. Because according to strict justice, once you do a wrong, you can never take it back. You can never retrieve it. You can never go back and retrieve it. That's why tshuva is like a miracle that Hashem forgives us. We say it's one of the greatest praises. We say the 13 principles of faith that God has this faith, in us, and he forgives and he lets go. Because really, it's impossible to truly let go in a sense. Because according to strict justice, according to the literal technical thing, you can't take it back. You can't take back your words. You can't take back the betrayal, the neglect, the abuse, whatever it is. You can't take back that interpersonal wrong that you committed. So you never deserve it. So how is it? So this leads us to secret number 3. Forgiveness only makes sense when it's given out of love. We have the principle from Chazal, Ava Mechalkeles as Ashura, that love makes a person not see things straight, not go according to literally the lines. It blurs the lines, and it makes people transcend and go much further than what the other person deserves, much more than what the person, strict justice, what exactly, they've earned. So you need to try to earn the other person's forgiveness, but it's never a point, you never earn it enough where it becomes deserved. because ultimately it's always going to be a gift, and it's a gift only granted out of love. Of Ava Mikalkelis is Ashura. Secret number 4, right, is that earning forgiveness makes it easier to forgive, right? It's not about deserving it, but there's a point that you're making it easier for the other person to forgive you by engaging in this process. But this is ultimately not necessary. Meaning that in order to forgive someone else, they don't need to engage in this way with you. When we were discussing the steps of Charata, Kabbalah, Asid, Vidoy, and then appeasement, again, this is straight from Chazal, straight from Halacha between you and Hashem, and it's the same parallel applies interpersonally. When we're discussing all of this, this is not necessary. Hashem will forgive us many times, even without engaging this process, just out of pure, abundant love. Now, us human beings, we're more flawed, right? We have more failings. So therefore, for us, we need to earn it more. But even from Hashem, it is more ideal. It's a more full forgiveness when we try to earn it. Right? Never deserved, but when we attempt to try to earn it in some degree, to make it easier for Hashem, then it's a more full forgiveness. So this is the point that we're making here, that it makes it easier, but it's not necessary, because if you have enough love in your heart, you could let it go. And you know what? You know who'll benefit the most is, other than the other person, is yourself. Because all this festering and negative emotions, etc., it will drain your functionality, it'll drain your joy, and drain your life. It'll pull you away from your goals, from your center, from your authentic self. And it's just so important to learn. This is such a core healthiness, forgiveness. There's not this rigidity of strict justice, but going beyond and allowing love to take over. When other people don't ask it in the perfect way, they don't engage in this process of appeasement and all these things, we need to still try to find it in our hearts to let go and to see the good in the other person, etc. All right, so what about the doormat, right? So we're saying it's all about love, right? So what about the doormat? Well, I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want to just be forgiving everyone out of love, and then they step on me again and again and again. So this is a really important point in terms of, right? And we say this also in our relationship with Hashem, that anyone who says to Hashem, oh, Hashem will just forgive me. Hashem has so much love, infinite love, in fact. So if Hashem will just let it go, Hashem's just going to sit there with the clock. No, he's going to let it go. So if you say that, Chazal say Hashem is mevater his life. I mean, if you think Hashem is a vatran, Hashem's mevater your life. You think Hashem just lets things go, Hashem lets go of your life. Meaning, it's a very severe thing that it's done to you. So it's the same thing interpersonally. You're not supposed to be a person who just lets things go when other people do every single thing to you. When I'm talking about being a person who lets go, I'm talking about for small things, not for patterns, not for severe offenses. We're talking about is for small things. And when you see, even for severe offenses, if you see that they didn't mean to do it, it was an accident, or it was just a clumsiness, or whatever it is, find in your heart to forgive. But if it's a pattern, and it's severe, then you should not forgive. It is not healthy, nor is it righteous. It is not a midas chasidus. It is wrong for you to do it. It's a sin to yourself and a sin to the other person, because you are now enabling their bad behavior by forgiving them. When someone's in a system is systematically abusing you or neglecting you in a way that they are not fulfilling their core responsibilities to you, and you forgive them out of love, it's a sin. It is an avera. It is unhealthy. You will not find joy in that life. You will not find a good functionality in that lifestyle. You should not forgive them, right? Forgiveness happens after the hurt is over. And I'll say this 2 more times. Forgiveness happens after the hurt is over. Forgiveness happens after the hurt is over. And in some sense, there's always hurt in your heart. What I mean is actively they're continuing to hurt you. Right? We always have that pain or etc. that we hold on to, and that's what we're forgiving, what we're releasing in a sense. But it only happens after they are causing you pain. I had a professor at my PsyD program. He's told me the following thing. He said, a lot of people say PTSD. I have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. He's like, from my experience, he says, most people who have PTSD, is really just SD, meaning stress disorder, because they're not post. Post means afterwards, meaning they're not after their trauma, so their trauma is still ongoing today. And I find that's very true for a lot of people, that we're having discussions of forgiveness. There's the other person still perpetrating you and still perpetuating and etc. all their negativity and evil that they're inflicting on you. That's not the time for forgiveness. That's not the time to be letting go. So first you have to wait till the pain's over. At least the most severe pain of it is over. After they stop inflicting on you, And basically, when you're forgiving them, you're basically showing a trust. And that trust is the trust that it won't happen again. They will not continue to do that to you. And you need to trust them. And again, you could earn it by saying the right words, showing a plan, etc., that we mentioned earlier. But that's ultimately all to engender this trust, to make them feel safe enough to let go. Because if you don't make them feel safe enough to let go, then it's very hard to forgive. And that's you asking them, demanding really of them to be a bigger person than most people are. Forgiveness itself is very difficult in today's generation, even before, but forgiveness has always been a challenge for people, but especially today, people have a very hard time with this, and I think that this is the true sign of healthiness. So, and we will close in terms of the secrets with one last secret, that forgiveness occurs on a spectrum. And in order for this, on a spectrum, in order for this to occur, is you need to process your emotions. You need to learn from your emotions. You need to respect, trust, integrate all the points of internally, right? So this is really more of an intrapersonal, right? Until now, we've been talking interpersonal between you and a friend or a loved one, etc., who hurt you in some way. That's what you're trying to gain forgiveness from someone else, or you're trying to see, should I forgive them? That's been our current discussion. But now let's also discuss about intrapersonal, forgiving yourself, different parts of yourself. You have anger part, you have the shame part, and all the talks here, I keep trying to bring this up because it's so important, like this IFS perspective of seeing every part of yourself as part of your loved, respected, a little mini you, that is all the traits that you have, that has dignity, respect, trust, communication, reciprocation, reconciliation, ruptures, all the same rules as a regular relationship apply for this as well. So when you have this principle, understand that when you're trying to forgive this part, you need to learn from them. You need to respect it. You need to show it trust. You need to integrate their points into your life, their values into your future decisions. So in a sense, and this is a good line to remember, is you need to let in these emotions. A lot of times we don't forgive them, we're pushing them to the side. We're not letting in, we're not listening to what they have to say. So in order to let go, in a sense, or forgive yourself, you first need to let them in. And once you love them, show them respect and compassion and understanding, etc., then you could build up to in a real, authentic, meaningful way. Eventually, then you can transcend and go and transition to letting go. So first you need to let in your emotions, let in those parts, let them back into the internal family, learn from them, etc., all of that, and then you let go. Let in, then let go for intrapersonal healing. So again, you don't need to be a doormat. You do it once the pain has passed, do it once the threats have passed. Let's do a quick summary, and then we'll open it up from questions. In the Instagram, you could join in as well. Again, forgiveness is not the end of the process, it's the start. It's not the start of the process, it's the end of the process. It's all the way at the end. It culminates. Your reconciliation is the process, and then the end of that process, it culminates in something called forgiveness. Forgiveness should be earned. You should try to earn it, but you'll never be deserved, because it only is done, which leads us to secret number 3. It's only done when it's given out of love. It's not earned or deserved ultimately, but it's given as a gift out of love. Ava, Mikkel Kaus as Ashura. Earning forgiveness makes it easier, but never deserved, but it's ultimately not necessary, because if you have enough love in your heart, you could forgive no matter what, except, he said, don't be a doormat, right? Make sure your boundaries are being respected. Make sure the threat has passed. And now the person is not showing a pattern of negativity. The person is not inflicting major harm with you in a way that's a pattern. It has to be those two conditions: a serious offense and a pattern to that. If it's a small offense and it's repeated, you could let that go. But if it's a major offense and it's repeated, then you shouldn't let go. And if it's a serious offense, but it was a one-time thing and you know that for sure, then again, I think that's also appropriate to forgive. But don't be a doormat. Making sure that this person's taking it seriously, and if not, you should not forgive them. You should hold it against them until they take the right process for reconciliation, which is also what Hashem does. Hashem is only mevater our averos when we engage in that as well. Which leads us to secret number 5, that again, forgiveness happens after the hurt party knows they're protected from the future. It's based on the trust that it won't happen again. And then we said the intrapersonal, right? Let go. First, let in the emotions, give them love, respect, compassion, trust, etc. Then you let it go. And then we said that there's a 3-part process, right? And then appeasement, right? We said step 1, charata, show genuine, real remorse. Then we have admit what you did, say it publicly, show true acknowledgement. and then Kabbalah also, that to show a real plan of how this is never going to happen again. And then you engage in that process of appeasement, reestablish that relationship, and get a nice, healthy, get a few zeros in there in the green, and that's how we'll get there. Anyone have any questions? Now is a great time to jump in before we wrap up. So we have still so many gems dropped. Thanks. Oh, thank you so much. That's very generous. Anyone else? Any other questions? All right. So let's call it a wrap for tonight. I just think this topic is so important to achieve breakthroughs in your life. If you want to know what does a healed person look like, if you want to know what's the whole point of therapy, you could say to increase functionality, and I think that is a good purpose of therapy. But I think that more fundamentally, what we're all looking for is healing, and understand this is what true healing looks like: is forgiveness intrapersonally, forgiving yourself for allowing yourself to get bullied or allowing yourself to be hurt, or for not stepping up when you should have, or not having made better choices in the past. Learning to forgive yourself, all the different parts of yourself, bringing back the family, the intrapersonal family, the internal family system, making it whole once more, making it integrated. And then also to the interpersonally, to then again learning to have, especially a relationship with your parents, your siblings, etc. Yes, they've hurt you, and they've done wrongs, but people learn to talk to them again, learn to love them again, learn to look past them, find the good in them, find the love in your heart to forgive them, and do it for yourself and do it for them. Do it for them because it'll haunt them forever if you don't, and do it for yourself because if you don't, it'll haunt you too. Depriving yourself of all the benefits of connection and the benefits that reconciliation could give you. Imagine a life when you could have these people love you. And yes, stand up for yourself and enforce boundaries, etc. But learn to eventually slowly lower them once you start feeling safety and re-experience the trust and love that you probably deserved or should have had at a younger phase. But now you're an adult. Now it's time to move on and to learn to grow. And yes, give yourself the time and space to process all of your emotions. Give them their space before you engage in forgiveness, even intrapersonally, right? That you're supposed to appease, etc. All the principles interpersonally apply intrapersonally. And I hope tonight's conversation provided some clarity. Get it? OKclarity. So clarity on forgiveness, which is, we said, decoding forgiveness, the 5 secrets to truly letting go, not just fake letting go, and really you're just repressing it, and really you're just still angry and still holding it all in. I'm asking, this is a process. This is the real deal. This is what it really looks like. And I want you to walk away with forgiveness is the end of the process, not the beginning. We should all grant it to ourselves and others as a gift of love. And thank you for being here tonight. And I look forward to spending time with you all again very soon. And again, if you have any other points, you can find me at OKclarity.com you get a free session if you'd like. All the best.